Welcome to Complex Kids Simple Solutions, the podcast for parents raising complex and neurodivergent kids who are doing their best in systems that don't always make things easy. I'm Michelle Shoaidi, founder of Special Education Concierge, a mom to a complex kid, a speaker, and an advocate. This space isn't about perfection. It's about real life, the hard days, the small wins, the moments where you wonder if you're doing enough, and the moments where you realize you are. Here we talk honestly, share practical insight, and simplify what feels overwhelming. One conversation at a time. You are your child's hero. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Complex Kids Simple Solutions. Hey, guys, today we have Jenny Hornby with us, and I am really excited because there's a couple things we're going to be talking about that I don't know anything about. So this is going to be super fun. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm glad to be here.
Yes, thanks, Jenny. All right. So first of all, if you're watching it on the video, she is so perfectly put together that I am looking at myself in the video and I'm like, oh my gosh, I should have like done my hair really good. And she's like this perfect little doll on the video. So I just want you guys to know. So anyway. And so when you're watching the clips, when you're watching the clips on Facebook and TikTok and all of that, do not judge Mama over here.
No,
and
no
the
judgment.
crazy hair.
That's right.
So
yeah.
That's right. All right, Jenny, let's get to it. So one of the things that really interested me, there's a couple about you, but one of the things is that on your bio, a counselor and a children's book author, and you are trained in EMDR, and play therapy. What the heck is EMDR? Can you tell us?
Sure. So it stands for, it's got a terrible name. I think we all agree. So it's eye movement desensitization reprocessing is what EMDR stands for. And when Francine Shapiro discovered it and developed this whole intervention, she realized after finding out that she had cancer that she went and took a walk. And as she was walking and really distressed, she was kind of looking back and forth across the road. And when she came back from the walk, she felt less distress. And so she started kind of diving into that, found that REM sleep, our eyes are rapidly moving back and forth. And it's that bilateral movement helps us kind of digest the hard things. And so we found that if we can kind of look at the hard things that are really upsetting and bring bilateral movement, walking, moving our eyes back and forth, tapping, that it acts as a way that, and we don't totally understand why, but it lights up, both hemispheres of the brain, and we're able to kind of de-escalate, or the situation goes from maybe being a 10, like the most upsetting thing ever, to maybe a 3 or a 4, just by letting yourself notice it with this bilateral movement. And then the second part is you install something more helpful. So maybe for some of your students, if they're believing they're stupid when they get frustrated, if you can think about, well, when did you start believing that? What was going on? And you can have them think about it and remember it and bring bilateral movement, and then say, okay, what would you rather believe? What would be more true? What would be more helpful? Well, that I'm learning I am smart. I'm just having a hard time right now, whatever it is. So you say, okay, I want you to think about that memory where you were having a hard time in school. And I want you to bring that belief in. I'm learning it's okay to have a hard time. I'm learning I can do hard things. And they tap that in. So you can tap out the hard stuff and tap in the good stuff nice and slow. And so there's this installation process. And with kids, it's super fun because their minds are so malleable, so it's a lot quicker. Yeah. Like my son the other day, he had started homework and he was like, I can't do it. Having a whole meltdown. And after 5 minutes, he had figured it out. He learned how to do the math problem. And I literally went up to him and I started tapping his shoulders. I was like, you can do hard things. Like, you got through it, And he's just laughing like, oh my gosh, Mom. But yeah, anytime you can bring bilateral movement, walking. I have little buzzies that the kids can hold, or we'll take a paintbrush and we call it brushing it in or brushing it out, and it's so fun and amazing. And people look at me afterwards, they're like, is this magic? Because it really is so effective. I mean, it works so well. So I highly recommend
Uh-huh.
it. It's amazing. It's a great tool to have. Yeah.
It's interesting because I think I heard the very first time I heard that term was like, I don't know, 20 years ago,
Yeah, it's
25
been
years ago.
around.
And it
Right.
was one of my roommates back then. She really got into it. And
Okay.
so, but I really never really understood this and
Yes.
how to use it or any of that.
Hmm.
So is this something you have to teach the kids to do? Is this something that you have to implement it somehow? Is there like a book that we need to learn from, or how
Yes.
does
Like
it work? Because yeah.
it has to be done by someone who's trained in EMDR, so it's the therapy, licensed therapy kind of tool. And the way I kind of introduce it to kids is, of course, in like a fun, playful way. So
Mm-hmm.
the first step is finding out what's their preferred way to do bilateral movement. And so we'll play around
Okay.
like different, depending on the age. Do you want to move, like an elephant? Do you want to be a gorilla? Do you want to stomp? And we'll find whatever it is. A lot of them like my buzzies, and they'll just hold on to them or put it in their pocket. And so you have to kind of find that piece for them that feels the most
Mm-hmm.
comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And then you find out, like, what is it? What's been bothering them? And a lot of times it comes out in their play. I'll use the play therapy intervention to sort of see where they go in their play. Maybe they're playing trucks and they keep burying everything under the sand, and this sense of
Mm-hmm.
like I can't get to what I need. It's all buried, and so I say a
Mm.
lot like I'll just reflect back what I see. Oh, everything's buried. Notice that. Everything's under there. What's,
Mm-hmm.
and all they have to do is just
Mm-hmm.
kind of bring their awareness to it. And I have just a little scale, like a sunshine is everything's great, and then a
Mm-hmm.
storm, which is everything's terrible, and then like a little cloudy sky, it's not, it's kind of in the middle. And I'll say, where are you at right now when you think about that?
Mm-hmm.
And they'll point to it, and that way they can kind of see their progression. So a good
Sure.
book, I mean, I would go to the original and just start out with Francine Shapiro, because she's the one who's developed it.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
And there's a lot with EMDR and play therapy. Anna Gomez is the best known person for that, and she has a website and a lot of
Okay.
resources and videos and stuff. So if you look for her,
Yeah.
and then you can do art too. Like we'll do something called Scribble Out, Michelle, where they'll just fold the paper in half and then fold it in half again and then unfold it, and they have 4 squares. So the first square,
Uh-huh.
they think about, maybe they have a fear of bugs. Okay, think about that
Okay.
fear, think about that wasp or whatever, and how much does it bother you? And you write that in the first square. And then I just have them draw what
Mm-hmm.
shape, what color, what comes to mind around that. And then they pick a color they really
Mm-hmm.
like a really, like their favorite color, a color that makes them feel good. And I tell them, I want you to notice how much this bug bothers you, but take that color and start scribbling over that image. So they're doing the thing, they're focusing on the thing they don't
Mm.
like, they're noticing it,
Mm-hmm.
but they're bringing that resource of this color. And so it starts to bring the distress down. And
Hmm.
it's just a real simple way that they can just notice what it is. And it's contained
Yeah.
in this square, it's on the paper. Because really, that's what's such a hard reality, isn't it? Like, in order to get stronger, we have to face the hard thing. The avoidance is really a
Yes.
big part of what exacerbates the problem. So I'm trying to help them feel
Mm-hmm.
strong enough that you can face it. You're not alone. It's on the
Yeah.
paper, or whatever,
Yeah.
to really encourage them. So,
So do you do this mostly with kids, or is this also done with adults?
yes, I
This
do it with
therapy.
both. Yeah, I think it really started out with
Okay.
adults, and then they've really found ways to adapt it with kids. Yeah, so I,
Mm-hmm.
I do it with both. And a lot of times clients will come as it's the parent bringing the kid, and then as we kind of get to know each other, we realize, oh, mom and dad have got a lot of trauma that's making it hard for them to be
Mm-hmm.
present, with their child. So we'll do some parent sessions and really try to help them with whatever is getting triggered in
Mm-hmm.
them. I always say
Yeah.
I thought I was a really nice person until I became a mom. Your kids just trigger.
Seriously.
They trigger the
Oh
deep
my
stuff.
God.
You just, oh, so hard. So it's a
They
great
they
opportunity.
trigger your mother.
Yes, yes, they definitely
I
do.
mean, they trigger my mom. Like, it's
Right,
like, oh my gosh, what did I just do?
right.
You know? Okay, so seriously,
Yeah,
it's insane. It's like
it is.
I'm
It
a
is.
mom. I'm totally doing what my mom used to do. Okay, so of course I'm gonna turn this a little bit
Yeah,
into our kiddos, our complex kids, right?
right.
How would you do that with a
Hmm.
complex kiddo?
Yeah, I would say every child I've worked with has been pretty complex. And so
Okay.
you have to leave room for them and the way they want to
Mm-hmm.
work and really go at their pace. So that's where the
Okay.
play therapy is such a great, avenue to work because they love coming to see me. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
my clients run in, they give me the biggest hug. They can't wait to come. They want to come do therapy on their birthday. Like they think it's the best thing ever, you know?
Oh,
So
nice.
it's done
Yes.
in a way
Uh-huh.
that feels really natural for them. It's not like,
Sure.
now sit down on the couch. Now tell me how you're feeling. Point it out on the chart. It's very, very playful and I really try, especially in those first couple sessions, to just look for what themes are showing up in their play, like burying things
Mm-hmm.
or, just really aggressive play where they're banging everything or smacking everything. And so it's a
Yeah.
lot of kind of finding their language and their mode and then working
Mm-hmm.
alongside them and at their pace. And it can be very quick. Like it might just be a couple minutes where we're doing some reprocessing and then we'll go back to play and just kind of a social engagement and
Mm-hmm.
maybe tossing a ball back and forth. So it's very much, kind of breaking it up and to how much they can tolerate. If,
Sure.
if I start noticing they're getting overwhelmed or this is getting to be a little too much, then we'll just pause and
Mm-hmm.
play hot potato, draw a picture, you know,
Yeah.
to go get a snack,
Something
walk
else to get
around.
them out of that.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's
Okay.
amazing to me. Yeah, it's really cool.
That's interesting. I mean, really, when you think about it, right? A lot of the complex kiddos out there, especially if you're starting them really young, some of them don't have the language to even
Right.
explain to you what it is that they're feeling. And
Hmm.
they don't know what those feelings are. They don't know
Right.
what that is. And I think that this kind of leads us into your book
Hmm.
and what
Yeah.
you're doing when it comes to kiddos. So tell us about that.
So during COVID, like so many other people, right, I was bored out of my mind. So I started writing this story called Made for This. And it's based on my youngest son and I had gone to Discovery Cove. It's a place in Florida that you like swim with all different fish and everything. And they had this giant
Mm-hmm.
stingray that was like 6 feet across. It was massive. And he wanted to get in there and swim with it, but he was so scared, to do it. And so
Uh-huh.
we like made up a song and we just had the best time and we got out there and he faced his fears. And so
Mm-hmm.
during lockdown and boredom, I just was like, I wonder if I could like write a story about helping kids face their fears. And so I ended up writing one about a otter and an otter mom, and the otter's scared
Mm-hmm.
to like float on his back by himself and he wants his mom and all these kind of things. And so it's really just a sweet story about what like describing what it feels like to be scared. In the book the heart's
Mm-hmm.
racing and it's hard to breathe and it's hard to think and just sort of helping them understand the body sensations around what fear is like. And then the mom is like this beautiful model of like how to be a loving, compassionate, curious mom. Like I want to be more like her.
The ones they would
And
hate.
I know
Yes.
exactly. I'm like, I want to be like her. She's so good. And so she is very like curious with him and kind and helps him explore it. And it's just really fun, just kind of dynamic in this relationship of seeing him face his fears. And he has to do it. She's there to support him, but it's got to be him who faces it and works through it. And so that's
Mm-hmm.
how the story came about. And it's funny because a lot of educators are using it because so many kids are scared to learn the new skill or to try the new thing, this fear of failing. So the stories
Mm-hmm.
actually ended up getting into a lot of schools because it helps open up this whole conversation about, okay, so what happens to you, when you try to do
Yeah.
your math facts, or you try to write a sentence about, what you just read. And
Mm-hmm.
so it really helps the body awareness of what's happening.
Yeah. One of the things that it wasn't a struggle so much. It was just, getting the right recommendations for the books.
Right.
But one of the ones that we used a lot with my son was How to Train Your Dragon. And I don't know if you've seen those.
Yes.
But my son has ADHD, so it explains about ADHD. And then it talks about, if you do wrong things and making the right choices. So it teaches, the kid is teaching his dragon not to make bad choices.
Right.
And so those are really interesting things. And so when I hear about kids' books that are trying to teach them, social skills or, learning their feelings.
Right.
One of the greatest things that Disney ever did, and you guys can say whatever you want about Disney, but that Inside Out movie was so good for the kids.
Yes, good
right?
for me.
And
my husband and I cried through the whole thing.
Yeah.
We're just like, oh my gosh. Yeah, it was so good.
I was like, I am a constant red in my life right now.
Yeah.
So it's like, and so you identify with the characters, you identify with the feelings. And so and with the complex kids, what I've noticed is that they have a much harder time understanding that.
Yes.
Understanding their feelings, understanding what it is and what the consequences can be for whatever it is that they're going to do.
Yes.
And so I am really grateful to authors like you that can bring that into animation or into a book,
creative,
right? That you can read and look at. Yes. Yeah. That creativity. And so now, so you said that it came about during COVID.
Yeah.
Did you have like a specific thing? Like you kind of touched on it, but was it just, I want to write a book? What if I did this? Is that kind of how it went? Or
well, it started out with, I wrote the story and then I was taking a walk with my dog and met another lady walking her dog, because that's all you could do, right, during lockdown.
Yeah.
And I told her I'd written this children's book and that I was thinking about, maybe publishing it, but I didn't have a illustrator. And she was like, well, I am an illustrator. Like, I just got my master's degree in fine arts and I'm looking for a children's book to illustrate. And I was like, are you kidding me right now? So she and I collaborated, and it was just one of those things where we would just like take the next step and a door would open, and we'd take another step and the door would open, and it kind of just grew. Yeah, it was such a cool experience. And so that's how it happened. It was very organic, literally taking a walk and meeting people along the way. But I think you're right about Inside Out. I think that's a good resource for sure, is the Inside Out movie. I have the little miniatures at my office, and the kids identify it and we'll pull it out and they'll use that to talk about it. And actually, some of my kid clients will write books. Like I get those little blank books and letting them be the author, and I'll just be real open-ended with them. I'll say, who's your main character going to be? And let's give them a problem and how are we going to solve it and what do they need? And it's kind of a fun thing to let them be the expert and see what they do and where they go and
what their consequences, what they are going to, what they know.
Right.
Kids, they can like twist things around really, really well and say, I didn't know that. But they do, right? I mean, I'm not saying that they, but you're going to talk about a consequence of something like they, they go out, and I'll tell you the story. So my son went out and he figured out where I had hidden the Nutella, and he got the Nutella and he went out to the front yard with a spoon, and he has this little nook where he goes in the front yard and where he puts things. And I couldn't find the Nutella anywhere. And so I go, did you eat the Nutella? And I knew he had.
Right.
I knew he had it, And so I said, well, you cannot go on your scooter because you just took the Nutella and you ate the whole entire thing. And so, but here's the thing. Did he know that he was not supposed to eat the Nutella? He did.
Yes.
But
Right.
he did it anyway.
Right.
And
He was
so
going and sneaking it.
a
Yeah.
lot of times, yes. And I'm not saying that this is across the board for the complex kiddos. Like my son is 12. He does have intellectual disability. But you know, when you look at these kiddos, like I think that there is that sense of right and wrong, and I'm not talking about all of them.
Yes.
But when when you teach them these things, and if you put that in their words, like you were saying, like they're going to tell you the right thing,
right,
the right thing to
there.
do.
It is, exactly.
It is.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes,
So true.
it is.
And one thing I wanted to make sure, sorry, Michelle, go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, you go ahead. Sorry.
No, one thing I really wanted to share today, just thinking about complex kids, one of my experiences with them a lot is kind of running into this rigid thinking where they're like, but I wanted Nutella. I wanted it now. You know, in this idea of this is what has to happen and I can't get past it until that happens. One of the tools that has helped a lot for parents is just acknowledging the wish. You know, you wanted Nutella. You really wanted to have Nutella right now. You know, and then like the limit is it's not time for Nutella. It's not Nutella time. You know, and I love I've just seen it. It's such a simple thing to just acknowledge what they wanted or what they're wanting, because it builds the sense of connection between the two of you. Okay, mom gets it. Mom understands that I really wanted Nutella, and she sees that. And I can also like acknowledge like this is the desire in me. This is what I want. But then you're kind of helping bring that limit in terms of, but it's not time for that. You know, you can, have a glass of water, or you can get, wait until dinner, but it's not Nutella time, But I want to encourage parents that when they feel like they're kind of in that back and forth with the kid, like, but I want this, but I have to have this. Sometimes it's just nice to have in your head kind of a script already ready to say, okay, let me just acknowledge what it is you're wanting and let you know that I acknowledge it. Because a lot of times we get it, we just don't say it. And so they don't feel like we get it. But I'll watch a kid when you acknowledge it and say, okay, you wanted Nutella. Like I'll see their shoulders relax and their whole body changes because they're like, okay, mom gets it. She knows that's what I want, And it sounds so simple, but it really does kind of get you back on the same page a little bit.
Okay. So I'm going to ask you, because this is what I was thinking. Okay. Had I told him, well, first of all, had I caught him before he went outside, right?
Right. In his little nut.
Because, yes.
I love your kid, by the way.
Well, let me just tell you. So this is how smart the kid is. He did not throw away the Nutella in our garbage. He put it in our neighbor's garbage. So I would not see that he took the Nutella. Do you see how smart these kids are?
Smart.
And they're, my gosh.
Yeah.
Anyway, but so had I caught him, had I said, it's not time for Nutella. Right. I understand that and then they lose it anyway.
Right.
But there is that, so there's that perseverance, right? That,
that's a good way to look at it, Michelle. Right.
Yeah. So, so what do you do? What do you do?
Yeah. Well, and I think you're right.
What would you tell a parent to help with that? Like, because I know that had I caught him before, it would have been kind of a cluster, right? Because he wanted it and he wanted it.
Right. He was locked in. Well, and I think it's thinking about like, what is the skill you want him to learn? Is the skill that you want him to kind of make better choices? Is the skill that you want him not to hide it? Do you want him to ask you? Like, what is it that you would have rather him do in that situation if he was hungry?
Ask.
Yeah. Okay.
Ask. Right? I think that is the very first thing. I would have said no. And he knows that.
Right.
He knows that I was going to say no because it was almost time for dinner.
Right.
Right. It was, I don't know. We eat super early, but asking for permission. And that is something that we're really, really struggling with now that he turned 12. He thinks that he's a big kid and he can do whatever he wants, but that's not the way that it goes.
Right. So. Yeah. So and I hear too, like asking and having to wait, like there's a lot of skills in there. He's got to catch himself.
Yes.
And recognize, okay, he needs something to eat, but then he's got to make sure, like, is this the time and is this the right thing? And it sounded like he just wanted something and he didn't want you to find out. He did a good job on that side. Oh my goodness.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm telling you. Yeah. Okay. I think you mentioned, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just going to say some parents have done the thing where before dinner, if the kid gets hungry, they have a couple things out. Like if you get hungry before dinner, you can have this or this. And then they're eating something good, like you can have something decent, but
I can
it's
barely
tough.
pull together a decent dinner.
Right, exactly. It's tough. I know. Yeah, so you can understand why it's such a hard thing. Yeah.
Yes.
It is.
Yes, it's a hard thing.
Nutella
But that's why we need to laugh about it. Yeah, that's why we laugh about it, right?
Yeah, right.
Because if you didn't, you'd cry every single day because it is a tough situation. Having a complex kid is not
right.
It's not what we thought that it would be, right?
No.
Okay. So, we're getting towards the end here.
Okay.
So I want to ask you, you mentioned that there's another one maybe coming out.
Yes.
Do you want to tell us about that really quick?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
So this one is about anger and learning how to get along. And so this one was tougher to write, honestly. But it's a porcupine and a skunk, and they keep fighting and hurting each other. And it's just trying to help kids kind of, again, understand what happens when they get angry, what's happening in their body, what they might notice, and then how do I respond? What's the way that I can handle my anger where I'm not hurting someone else or hurting myself? So it really it creates a fun dialogue. It reminds me, it's like grumpy old men in the woods. That's what it reminds me of, because the skunk and the porcupine keep attacking each other.
That's funny. Yeah.
It'll be fun.
Awesome. When is that coming out?
Well, it'll be out. I'm still finishing up the manuscript, so it should be out in the next year or so.
Okay.
Yeah, we have all the illustrations.
Okay.
I'm just finishing it up. You know how that goes. And Michelle, I have two kids that are both my kids are ADHD. Did I tell you that? So I feel
don't think
your pain.
so.
Yeah, it's not easy.
Yeah. I'm telling you, it's a tough thing. It really is. And I mean, that's why we're doing this.
Right.
Going through middle school, going through menopause, going through whatever. You're just like, oh,
my hair's falling out.
My gosh, what is going on here? You're up and down and you're everywhere. So, okay. So at the end of I always ask that if there's one thing that you want the moms who are listening to this, what do you want them to know and keep and remember?
Yeah. I would say, just like what happened in our story about the Nutella, is we're going to find ourselves in these messy moments where there isn't an easy solution for them or for us, And so I would say the main thing to focus on is, how do I stay connected to myself and what's going on inside of me and notice that? And then how do I maintain a good connection with my child? And that doesn't mean, you have to say no, you have to set limits, you have to discipline and allow for consequences. But that idea of, if we have kind of a rupture in our relationship because I just lost my mind on you, or you just lost your mind on me, knowing that you can come back and repair and, reconnect, scratch their back or snuggle or sit with them and watch whatever they're watching. That idea of repair really does make a difference. So if you totally feel like you've messed up, you can repair and the relationship actually be stronger for it. So I want parents to feel encouraged and hopeful that whatever has happened today, that it can be repaired and the relationship can be stronger and better.
Love it.
For sure. So don't give up hope. No matter what's happened with your Nutella.
I like it. Just don't give up. Don't give up. Keep going.
Don't quit. They need you.
All right, Jenny. Thank you so much for being on the show. It was great talking to you. Thanks for explaining all of that.
Yes.
And Listeners, we'll be back next week. All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Michelle.
Before you go, take a deep breath. You don't have to solve everything today. You don't have to have it all figured out. If this episode helped you feel seen, grounded, or a little less alone, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss future conversations. And if you ever want a deeper support, Special Education Concierge is here when you're ready. One step at a time, one decision at a time. You are your child's hero. I'll see you next